Alex Jones is a radio host. He's on a lot of, I don't even know how many. Alex, how many stations are you on?
Around 150, Howard. It's great to be here with you and Robin and the whole crew. It's crazy to be here. Been listening to you for more than 20 years.
Well, great to have you on. Because we saw you on Piers Morgan. And we
really enjoyed it.
We loved it. I think it was the best Piers Morgan appearance I've ever seen.
Well, folks liked it, and they said it was the highest ratings they've had in their entire 2-year history. But I ran into Piers Morgan in Houston a few weeks ago, and he said they're basically scared to have me back on.
Why?
Why would they be scared of you?
I guess they're afraid of ratings. Well, he said on video, I actually caught it on video down in Houston, he said, we don't want to give you that much attention. And I'm like, no. It's having controversy on your show that gave you attention and made it the #1 story in the United States for a whole week, Piers.
Well, yeah. I mean, look, the fact that you have an opinion, a strong opinion, and you're arguing with Piers Morgan, that's always good theater, is it not? I mean, as a radio guy, we know that's good theater.
Sure. I mean, look, I was in a bad mood. They were kind of being jerks behind the scenes.
What was it like when you showed up? What was it like when you showed up to CNN, Alex? Were they welcoming to you?
They were welcoming, but I'd been in that very studio area twice before, and it was really nice. Now it was kind of rotting. The bathrooms were real dirty. Holes in it. Listen, well, I mean, they admit CNN's basically on the verge of collapsing. They've got a whole reorganization going on, but it basically had the smell of death in there and failure. And they were really angry. And then I have a little bit of a pot belly. Right in front of me, they said, look, he's not wearing a jacket, belly, and said, move him out front with the chairs. And they promised not to put victims on right before me, and sure enough, they did that. And Piers was kind of cold behind the scenes. And then I said, look, I'm going to make my points. And he was trying to run over me, so I just dominated him. You see, Piers always dominates everybody else, so I decided just to give it to him with both barrels.
When you go on these shows, because you're a confrontational radio host, do you get nervous at all? Do you sit there and go, oh, God, here's another day at the office. I got to go fight with this guy. I mean, isn't it a lot more comfortable just to do your own show and do your own thing?
Yes, in fact, they begged me to go to New York, so I did it. And I'll be honest, I've gotten more and more reclusive just in my own office, my own crew. I just want to go home, or I just want to, go hang out with friends. It is not fun to go battle these people, and I think that's part of the irritation is just that once I got there, he was a empty suit. I mean, I'm excited to get up at 5 a.m. and come on your show because I feel like I know you from listening to you so much. But somebody like Piers Morgan, and I'm not saying he might not be a nice person himself, but as a media person, he is a pure hatchet man with an agenda, and so I just called him on it.
Yeah, I mean, you have said that you were scared even to go to New York because you do have conspiracy theories, and you were afraid they were plotting to kill you in New York, right?
Oh, no.
Well, I mean, just to be honest, I've snuck into Bohemian Grove. I've covered Skull and Bones. I've covered military operations. I've been arrested in New York for demonstrating, things like that. It was after, well, first, they wanted to drive me the 5 or 6 blocks and pick us up. But I said, you know what? I want to walk down to the CNN building. And so they had cops in plain clothes that kept popping out. I even caught some of them on video going, hey, Alex, where you going? You planning something? And then when I left, they were following us. And it looked like cops from the movie Goodfellas or something. And then at our hotel, they were waiting for us. And I said, you know what? I think I'm going to get in a cab. We're already flying out of New Jersey. I said, let's just drive out, stay in New Jersey, and fly out the next morning. So, yes, my spidey sense, which I rarely get up and leave someplace. I had a bad feeling with a bunch of New York detectives following me around. I got out of the city.
Yeah, that's it. And you live in Texas, and that's your thing. What, you married guy?
Yes, I am.
Yeah, and you got kids?
3 of them.
And so that's your life now. And when did you start in radio? I don't know your whole history, Alex.
I started in radio 17 years ago.
Right.
And I started out on KJFK, an affiliate that carried your show that was #1 in the city at that time. And then I was on the weekends at first, and then it got high ratings, so they moved me to weeknights. And about 2 years after I was on local radio, I got syndicated. And basically where I dominate is on the internet with Infowars.com and my other news site, PrisonPlanet.com.
Were you ever a music guy? Did you ever, like, play records?
Yeah, what'd you do before?
Yeah, I mean,
No. I mean, I'm only 39, so
Yeah.
I was basically in college, and they were telling me America was bad, the Second Amendment was bad, the Founding Fathers were bad, and I'd already read a lot of history, and I thought, man, this is authoritarianism.
What college were you going to?
I was going to local community college here in Austin, Texas.
Right, and so you started to develop your theories, and then you got right on the radio. Who put you on the radio first?
The local station, because I started out on Access Television,
Right.
and the general manager said we're flipping from hard rock to talk, and we're going to have Howard Stern on in the morning, G. Gordon Liddy in the afternoons, a bunch of other shows, and so that's how I got my start pretty much right away.
Your family must have been shocked. You weren't a guy who fantasized about being on the radio. Were they? I mean, you were just, what were you planning on being?
Well, we've got a ranch. I was looking at ranch management. I was also looking at maybe working for the Forest Service or something because I'm a big outdoorsman. I never wanted to even be in politics. I was going to community college while I worked another job, and I was about to go to the University of Texas. And every class was a bunch of socialist brainwashing. And so I thought, you know what? I was already kind of a history buff, and I'd read a lot of history books, and I thought, I've seen this before. This is authoritarianism. And I thought, I'm going to go down and do an Access TV show, because I started listening to talk radio, and I started calling in to the shows, and I wanted to be able to talk for more than just a minute. And so basically, I wanted to defend the Second Amendment. I wanted to defend property rights. I wanted to defend America instead of hearing it being run down every day. And I wanted to defend the real America, not the big corporate imperial America that we were already becoming, as more of a libertarian kind of paleo conservative, not a mainline conservative, kind of a Ron Paul type conservative. And so I just had a hunger to fight for liberty, and just day one had success, but it grew slowly. Also,
you know what, though? I'm surprised you hate Glenn Beck so much. I mean, it seems like you guys are on the same page with a lot of the stuff politically.
No.
Yeah, though. I mean, Beck's into, like, stockpiling food and everything, getting ready for the apocalypse, and he's warning people about it. I mean,
Did you do that?
Well, the only reason I've said get ready is because the government's buying 2 billion bullets now. It was 1.6 billion a month ago. The government's buying armored vehicles. The government's stockpiling food. The government's acting like things are going to collapse because of the derivatives and all the financial.
What are you afraid of? Seriously, what do you think's going to be happening?
That's what I wanted to know. I wanted to know who was after him in New York and what's going on.
Yeah, what is going on? What is? I mean, it's kind of hard to sum up your whole philosophy. But what do you think is going on?
What I think is going on is that the United States, and this is all on record. In fact, I actually just posted up at Infowars.com, wake yourself and others up with these free Alex Jones films, information for listeners of the Howard Stern Show, so that people can go see the Army manual that I have in front of me, Internment and Resettlement Operations, FM 3-39.40. And it's not that I'm trying to scare people. If we don't realize that we have tyranny growing in this country, bipartisan, because special interests can just buy off the government and then control the whole economy instead of competing, if we don't admit that we have these dangers, we'll get another Stalin or Hitler or Mao. That's just the way these cycles work. And the United States is not immune from this tyranny. It can and has happened here. We are now in the first stages of what will become a very deep tyranny. I mean, look at this AP headline. Feds buy 2 billion rounds of ammunition. Just 6 months ago, the media said I was making that up when it was only 1.2 billion rounds. DHS contractor apologizes for selling shooting targets of children, women, old ladies, old men. Homeland Security demanded they make $2 million worth of paper targets of children for them to shoot. This is beyond Orwellian. Robert Gibbs, the former spokesman, just came out on MSNBC yesterday. The video's up on the site if you want to go find it, maybe even play it. It's like 20 seconds long. And he says, listen, as soon as I became White House press secretary, they said, look, this drone program that's illegal, killing people without warrants, without any proof, all over the world, you're to say it doesn't exist. And Gibbs says, but it's on record it exists. And they said, look, just do it. And he said, this is like the Wizard of Oz and the man behind the curtain saying it doesn't exist. So even Gibbs is coming out saying it's a total fraud. So what I'm worried about is that our basic Bill of Rights and Constitution is being eroded. And when there's no checks and balances, automatically the worst tyrants in government, in corporations, in the culture will automatically rise to the top.
So a lot of dudes like you really do believe in, and I mean, listen, that's what the whole second.
I
that's what the whole
don't disbelieve what he said.
Right, I'd be saying the whole Second Amendment was about, hey, if things get out of control, the people will have arms, and then they can go and fight the government that becomes corrupt, right? I mean, that's why you're for the Second Amendment and for no gun limits whatsoever, right?
Sure. I mean, look, it's not like in a perfect world if angels were running things that gun restrictions wouldn't actually save lives. Here's the problem. Some gun restrictions. I mean, obviously, you can't give guns to 5-year-olds and let them walk down the street. But the issue is, all over the world, global corporate interest, you name it, governments throughout modern history have taken the firearms to oppress. And it's in the UN treaty that they believe citizens shouldn't be able to own guns. They actually state that the state should have a monopoly of force. And everywhere that the gun grabbers are in control, like New York, like Chicago, they have total gun bans for the basic citizenry. It's almost impossible to get a gun permit unless you know all the right people. And then, you know, the mayor and folks have their own armed bodyguard bubble, but they're trying to deny poor people that. So the issue here is they're disingenuous. They don't want the guns at the top because they want to save children. Adam Lanza tried to buy guns 5 times the month before in New Haven, there in Sandy Hook, and was unable to. The gun restrictions are for the law-abiding citizens because it's the instinct of the tyrants to always disarm people that they want to oppress. And the system's been disingenuous, and people now know, hey, you're not trying to get the guns for reasonable restrictions. You want the guns as part of an overall attack on the entire Bill of Rights. I mean, look, 5 years ago they said, conspiracy theory, the NSA isn't listening to the general public. Now they just admit they're listening to us.
But, Alex, don't you lose people when, like, first of all, I love the whole Glenn Beck thing. He called you a terrible spokesman for gun rights, and you called him despicable, and you said you're sick and tired of him, he's a punk. I still think you guys are on the same sort of political bent. I don't even understand the rivalry.
I'm not so sure. I'm not so sure.
Why? Why are you not sure?
Because he's just basically saying that, you know, there are these laws in the Constitution, and people are trying to usurp our powers by blaming, you know, by saying, you know, you can keep guns out of a maniac's hands. And so we'll keep them out of everybody's hands to do that. That's not the way you make a law. And the Constitution already says you can have a gun.
But exactly. Alex, don't you lose people with, although, I mean, listen, you're a radio guy, you got to be a performer too, and you got to hold an audience. If you keep upping the ante with, like, you know, like you said, Mayor Bloomberg probably hired the mafia or undercover cops to pose as crackheads to kill you while you're in New York City, you know, during the Piers Morgan thing. That's where you start to lose people because you're like, you know what I mean? You're going to,
sure, like
you could probably run for office or something if you didn't go after the really far out there conspiracy theories.
Listen, Howard, I totally agree with you that sounds crazy.
Right.
Okay?
Right.
Here's the deal. It happened, so I talked about it. I've never put out something saying they're coming after us, look out, this is going on. I was sick when I went to New York, had the flu, was throwing up in the CNN bathroom. That's why I describe how dirty it was. It was really disgusting to be bending over a toilet, you know, with crap sprayed all over the wall. I mean, literally, not from me, other people. I'm in this filthy bathroom throwing up. I got to go out there. I'm sweating. I'm up there with Piers Morgan. Actually, I wasn't putting on, you know, quote, an act. I was pissed off. I did blow up. But it actually worked out. At first, people were all shocked by it, but then they said, wait a minute. And of course, I heard Robin the day after talk about it. Look, you know, you should be mad. That's being a real American. They said it discredited me, but notice they haven't invited me back because they don't want America waking up out of its coma and getting upset. But listen, getting back to the whole Bloomberg thing. That night, before we left the hotel, it might have been a little panicked. I might have even, in my own mind, exaggerated things. Maybe not. All I know is I caught some of this on tape. Rob Dew, my news director, went with me. I said, man, I feel like crap. Maybe if I walk down the street, you know, because I'm sick, maybe I'll feel better when we get there. So I'm walking the 5-6 blocks, and guys are popping out of doorways that are obviously cops going, hey, buddy, what you planning? You're planning to do something? I'm a big listener.
You think that he was plotting against you,
listen,
Bloomberg?
Listen, I'm just guessing because he runs the city, and they look like detectives to me that I've seen, around Bloomberg when I've been up in New York.
Could they have been fans of yours?
Listen, the first time I thought, man, that guy probably is a cop. It happened twice, 3 times. They knew where I was at. They obviously had the cell phone tracking systems that the police under Homeland Security can dial into and pinpoint exactly where you're at, just like your wife, if she has your phone code.
Alex, do you ever think that you're paranoid, seriously? Because
no, listen, I caught it on tape. That's the thing, is that then I said, I want to be let on the mall exit. I don't want to be let out on the back door. His guys are waiting out there. And we walk out, and there's the guy turning, walking, talking into his sleeve, bumping into the wall, and 2 other guys are walking up like in a Goodfellas movie. And I said, taxi, and jumped in a cab and left. All